Welcome to Neverton, Montana, home to a God-fearing community with a heart of gold. Nestled high up in the mountains is Camp Damascus, the self-proclaimed most effective gay conversion camp in the country. Here, a life free from sin awaits, but the secret behind that success is anything but holy, and they'll scare you straight to hell. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Today's video continues my series of Halloween-prompted horror reviews with a look at the horror debut novel of well-known internet-based erotica author and satirist Chuck Tingle, namely, come on. Okay, I'll show it to you like this. Camp Damascus. Yeah. I very deliberately said horror novel debut because he has written a horror novella in the past, and as I have actually already covered in the history of this channel, not sure where exactly iCard is going to pop up, he also did a parody duology of the Harry Potter series. But now it seems he's trying his luck with long-form horror fiction. The TLDW for this review is this next step in the career of Chuck Tingle has proven itself to be quite promising. He manages to take some very interesting and distinctive memories and themes and motifs, and has managed to translate them in a very easy to follow and entertaining format, all the while employing some vivid metaphors and wild imagery, which help expand his own literary voice. I really have no problem recommending this book to absolutely anyone who is interested in horror, particularly in queer horror. For those of you who want to know a little bit more before delving into this book, well, let me tell you what I think is most important. The plot of the novel follows main character Rose Darling, a young woman from a deeply religious community who is committed to following the role models said community presents before her. When tragedy strikes her circle of acquaintances, she finds herself confronted with questions she has no answer to. And those questions plague her very active, very curious mind. And unfortunately for her, none of the people she trusts or places her confidence into are either able or willing to answer these questions. When she sets out on her own investigation, she draws the ire of her various protectors and mentor figures. This is a pretty straightforward setup for a plot, insofar as mystery horror, particularly aimed at younger audiences. But there are details about this book that really help elevate this quite simple premise. The first of these elevating elements that I will mention is the world building, the town within which Rose grew up, and the church under which she has spent her youth. And by church I mean the institution, not any particular building, are fleshed out to a sizable degree. Not sizable enough that a reader would know them inside and out, but the factors, the elements, the characteristics of these two elements that are most relevant to the story are expanded upon and given a lot of life and a lot of distinction, to the point where you can kind of figure out you can definitely figure out what message this book is trying to convey without it having to be spelled out. There are also some more abstract features of the world that are relevant to the way the plot develops, and I have to say that they are presented with similar degrees of attention and care. A very and in a very intriguing manner, highlighting the challenges that the leading characters will have to confront. Speaking of the lead characters, they are presented for a very personal, very intimate, one could almost say, perspective. And that perspective allows them to, allows the readers to understand them both on an emotional and an intellectual level. You really see how these characters think, solve problems, and relate to their own place within the world. Both the places they have chosen for themselves and the ones that have been thrust upon them. With this solid foundation in place, the plot that emerges from that has a lot of very intriguing back and forths, with a solid through line and plenty of engaging twists and turns that make for a very interesting and captivating reading experience. One which manages to intimately, expertly, and unflinchingly expose the targets of its mockery. It would be very tempting to say that this book is anti-religion, given the entire premise of it. Given not everyone is particularly happy with conversion therapy. However, it becomes quite clear that, particularly in the book's latter half, that Chuck isn't really aiming to ridicule religion itself. Rather, he is aiming to satirize the hypocrisy and lust for power that is covered by supposed religious ritual by religious authority figures. It is actually very refreshing to read through and very interesting to think back upon. So this book has plenty of analysis fodder if you're if you're into that. It's both interesting in a moment and interesting in hindsight. So it's got that going for it. That being said, there are still some issues that I would like to bring up. The pacing of the book is at times sloppy. The journey the main character Rose goes through is at times a little bit accelerated and sometimes too convenient. However, the biggest problem of the book is that Chuck kind of messed up the ending, or more precisely, the climax. It is not a bad climax by any stretch. It does actually present a satisfying conclusion, or a satisfying culmination, and it manages to get some good moments in. But the problem is there's plenty of wasted potential here, because Chuck can't really utilize all of the elements that he brings up in this story to their fullest. What do I mean by that? Well, by that I mean that, or why exactly does that happen? Well, part of it is due to the aforementioned pacing issues, but part of that is because the way Chuck decided to focus his story, give it this very personal perspective, doesn't really allow him to fully capture the chaos and bedlam that he then unleashes within the climax. It is very effective for the rest of the 90+% of this book, but within that moment it just kind of shakes a little. Overall, in spite of some issues I have with this book, it very much stands out as an entertaining and exciting piece of horror fiction. one which also fully utilizes this genre's narrative and satire potential. My final rating for Camp Damascus is a 4 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video and maybe even share it wherever you think others will also like the video. If you have anything you'd like to add to the book or to my review of it, well, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first two in my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and The Path Not Taken, are both available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below. Right past my own social media links, which I also suggest you check out, should you choose to. Additionally, you can support me on Patreon as well, where you will, aside from my gratitude, also receive perks such as early access to videos and scripts, both for this channel and my second one, because yes, I also have a second channel. Most people seem to have these days. Yeah, that was basically it. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.